Hey guys, tonight we're not going to study English. That's right, and no textbooks, no flashcards, no grammar drills. Instead, you're going to step inside the world of a native English speaker. Imagine you've just landed in New York, or London, or Sydney, and English is flying at you 100 miles an hour. You don't have time to look up words, you just have to survive. And guess what? You probably won't survive a broken bar unless you listen very closely. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. I always love knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You begin by listening, just listening. That's what babies do. When you were a baby, you didn't start by learning grammar. You didn't say, "Oh, today I'll memorize the past tense of irregular verbs." Nope. You just absorbed sounds. You watched people's mouths move, and you guessed what things meant from context, emotion, and repetition. And guess what? It worked. You mastered your first language without ever opening a notebook. That's your first clue. Native speakers aren't doing what learners do. They don't memorize vocabulary in neat little columns. They don't conjugate in their heads before speaking. They just speak. And what's behind that magic? Sound patterns, music, emotion, not logic. There's a fun little historical tidbit for you. In the 1600s, children in Shakespeare's time weren't taught English the way kids are taught today. Most of them couldn't even read, but they still understood Shakespeare's rapid-fire, pun-packed language because they grew up hearing Ida on the street, in the tavern, from the stage. Historians still argue whether most Londoners back then fully understood all the meanings, or if they just got the gist. But either way, they functioned by listening first and imitating second. Now back to you. If you're learning English by memorizing isolated words like apple, run, or beautiful, you're doing something your brain doesn't actually enjoy. Your brain doesn't want to learn single words. It wants sound blocks. It wants, "Can I have an apple? He's running late. You look beautiful today." Sound first, then meaning, then grammar if you really need it. Let's be honest, how many times have you heard someone speak English fluently with a strong accent, but you still understood everything they said? That's because accent doesn't matter as much as rhythm. More on that later. For now, I want you to focus on tuning your ear. This week, don't study anything. Don't touch a grammar book. Just play native English around you like background music. Watch YouTube vloggers. Turn on an English podcast as you cook. Put on a Netflix show and just let it play. Don't worry about understanding everything. That's not the point. Instead, ask yourself, what patterns do you hear? What sounds keep coming up? Can you mimic just the melody of what someone said, even if you don't catch every word? Here's your quirky tidbit. In some language learning experiments, researchers found that babies who just listened to a second language for hours a week without any study could recognize and reproduce native pronunciation better than teens who studied the language formally. Wild, right? So yeah, you want to speak fast like a native? Then stop worrying about knowing every word and start tuning into how it feels. Mimic the rhythm, copy the music, and mumble your way through it like a sleepy actor trying to remember his lines. Sound comes before understanding. Understanding comes before speaking. Speaking comes before grammar. That's the natural order, and your brain already knows it. In fact, you've already done this once in your life. You've already mastered one language. You've built an entire identity inside your native tongue. So don't let English be the monster under the bed. It's just a new room you're walking into, and the lights aren't on yet. That's all. Alright, your mission until we meet again: stop memorizing. No more word lists. Just listen. Let English swirl around you like fog. Like a song you don't quite know the lyrics to. Hum along badly. That's the start of fluency. You've started to hum along, even if it's badly. That's good, because tonight, we crack open one of the most underrated secrets of native fluency: rhythm. And no, I'm not talking about dancing, though let's face it, some people speak English like they've got two left feet. I'm talking about the actual musical flow of English, the beat, the tempo, The unpredictable bounce that makes native speech feel like it's skipping and tumbling forward. If you ever tried to read a transcript of a native conversation, you might have noticed how chaotic it looks. Half-finished sentences, repeated words, like "I mean." It's a grammatical mess, but when spoken aloud, it feels right. That's the power of rhythm. You don't need perfect grammar, you need the right vibe. Picture it. You're at a coffee shop in London. Someone behind you says, "Yeah, no, yeah, I was gonna, pop in, but you know how it is." To a textbook learner, this is nonsense, but to a native, that's a whole emotional story packed into a sentence that barely has any real content. Historians still argue whether modern English has become more emotionally coded or just plain lazy. Either way, it's efficient, it's rhythmic. Here's the historical fact of the day. English isn't just one language, it's a mashup, a mongrel, a smoothie of Anglo-Saxon roots, French elegance, Norse violence, and Latin ambition. That's why it doesn't sound like German or Spanish or Chinese. It hops, it stretches, it cuts corners, and native speakers are surfing that messy rhythm without even realizing it. So let's break it down. English is a stress-timed language. That means some syllables are punched hard, called stressed, while others are squished like day-old marshmallows. Try this. I want to go to the store. Feel the beat? I want a broken bar. Squish squish a broken bar store. That's English. You don't say every word with equal weight. You skip, you glide. Now, compare that to syllable-timed languages like Spanish or Japanese, where every syllable gets roughly the same time. Yoki ro relat yunda. It's steady, like a metronome. But English? It's like jazz. You hit the big notes and improvise the rest. That's where most learners get stuck. You're trying to pronounce every word perfectly, every syllable, clean and clear. But native speech isn't about clarity, it's about flow. Nobody says "I am going to the supermarket." They say "I'm gonna go to the supermarket." Boom. All slurred, all blurred, and totally normal. Let's sprinkle in a quirky tidbit. Researchers once slowed down a recording of native English speech by 50%, and guess what? Even the speakers themselves couldn't recognize some of the words. Why? Because when we speak fast, we sacrifice precision for rhythm. That's how your brain saves time. That's how conversation stays alive. Now, here's what I want you to do tomorrow. Go on YouTube. Search for any native vlog of someone just talking to the camera. Don't read the subtitles. Don't pause. Just listen for the beat, the rhythm. Where are they emphasizing? Where are they dropping syllables completely? Try to mimic just the tune of their voice, like humming a song. Don't worry about understanding. This isn't school. This is musical ear training. Do it in the shower. Do it while walking the dog. Do it under your breath in the elevator. But maybe don't scare your neighbors. Just start feeling the bounce of native speech. Because that rhythm, that's the skeleton of fluency. Grammar can wait. Vocabulary can wait. But without rhythm, everything sounds robotic, stiff, unnatural. And let's not forget different accents have different rhythms. British English bounces differently than American. Aussie English has its own lazy swagger. But all of them follow the same rule. Stress what matters, swallow what doesn't. You'll start to notice patterns, like how short helper words a, to, a, the, I so often vanish or melt into nearby sounds. Going to becomes gonna, have to becomes have to. It's not lazy, it's efficient. Native speakers aren't rushing, they're dancing. So, here's your takeaway. Don't just hear English, feel it. Let your jaw relax. Let your tongue get lazy. Let the rhythm carry you. And if someone asks why you're muttering in a sing-song voice to yourself at the grocery store, just tell them you're a jazz musician. In training. You're getting into the rhythm now. You're starting to feel the pulse of the language. But let me guess, you're still speaking way too clearly, like crystal clear radio announcer clarity. Every syllable perfectly enunciated, every consonant hitting like a drumstick on glass. And here's the hard truth. That's what's slowing you down. You speak too clearly, and in the real world, that's actually a problem. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous. Shouldn't clarity be a good thing? Shouldn't we all strive to sound like the pronunciation tapes from English class? The ones that go, "Hello, how are you today?" Well, Not if you want to sound like a native. Because native English speakers smash words together, skip letters, blur endings, and sometimes talk like their mouth is full of peanut butter. Not because they're lazy, but because that's how spoken English works. It's efficient. It's like texting but out loud. Imagine this: you walk into a cafe copyright in Chicago and say, "Good morning. I would like a cup of coffee, please." The barista will smile, but she'll also know instantly that you're a learner. Why? Because nobody says it like that. A native will walk in and mumble, "Mornin'. Can I get a coffee?" The good disappears. Would like turns into get. Even please might vanish if they're in a rush. It's fast, it's messy, but it flows. Here's a historical fun fact. In the 18th century, English elocution lessons became a trend among the wealthy. People were trained to speak slowly and with exaggerated clarity to show off their class. But in everyday life, speech was always casual, always clipped. Historians still argue whether those proper speaking styles ever actually caught on outside the upper crust. Most agree, real people always spoke the fast, mushy version. Let's zoom in. Why do native speakers blur words? Because it's faster. Your mouth is lazy. Your brain wants shortcuts. So instead of, "I have to go," you get, "I have to go." Or instead of, "Did you eat?" you get, "Jeet." Try it. Say it fast. Sounds like one weird word, right? English has dozens of these mashed up monsters. What are you doing? Becomes what you doing? Let me see becomes let me see. And if you don't use them, you'll sound overly formal, even robotic. And here's the kicker. Trying to say every word perfectly makes you slower. Your mouth works overtime. Your brain hesitates. You panic about sounding right when all a native speaker cares about is flow. So your goal: stop overpronouncing. Start slurring it just a little. Let's bring in a quirky bit of science. A study once showed that non-native speakers who spoke faster even with more mistakes were rated as more fluent than slow, perfect speakers. Think about that. People preferred speed and confidence over precision. Fluency is performance, not perfection. So how do you practice this? Try mumbling practice. No, really. Pick a phrase like "What do you want to do today?" and say it 10 times fast. Each time, let it get sloppier. Let it melt into "What do I wanna do today?" or "What ya wanna do today?" It'll feel weird, but your brain is learning the lazy patterns natives use without thinking. Here's a fun challenge. Find a scene from a movie, preferably with fast dialogue. Think Marvel, Friends, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Watch it once with subtitles, then again without. Now pause and repeat the lines exactly as you hear them. Don't copy the words, copy the blurring, the mush, the run-together chaos. You're training your tongue to stop overworking. And if you mess up, good. Native speakers mess up all the time. They restart sentences, they stutter, they make up words like hangry and adulting. It's not about being correct, it's about being believable. Now, don't go full mushmouth overnight. You still need to be understandable, but just know, aiming for textbook perfect pronunciation is like dressing in a tuxedo to go grocery shopping. It might be correct, but it's not how real people roll. So next time you speak, ask yourself, am I trying to be perfect, a broken bar, or natural? Because perfection is slow, and slow is not fluent. Let go, slur a little, drop the endings, blur the lines. Trust that native English isn't spoken in neat little boxes, it's smeared across a canvas, full of shortcuts and style. By now, your tongue's getting looser, your ears are tuning in, and you're starting to hear the squishiness of real English. But now it's time to unlock the absolute superpower of native fluency, something so invisible that even most natives don't realize they're doing it. It's called connected speech, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's the difference between sounding like a tourist and sounding like you belong. Let's break it down. Connected speech is when words in a sentence stick together, change form, or flat out disappear when spoken quickly. You already felt a bit of this when we talked about rhythm and blurring, but now we're going deeper into the mouth of the beast, into the land of Ghana, Lemmy, and the vanishing T. For example, say this slowly: "Do you want to eat?" Now say it fast, like a native: "Do you wanna eat?" Or even faster: "Jeet." Yep, that's real. In fast casual speech, That entire four-word sentence can melt into a single syllable. It's terrifying, and kind of beautiful. English is a language that loves cheating. We cheat sounds all the time. We link consonants to vowels, drop whole syllables, and merge unrelated words into weird hybrids. Here's a classic one. I'll see you in a bit. Native version, I'll see you on a bit. It's almost one big slushy sound, but it works. Even common phrases like what do you mean? Become what do I mean? Let me help you becomes let me help ya. And did you call her? Might end up as gee caller. These aren't slang. These are standard, everyday English. If you're not using connected speech, you'll sound stiff like a newsreader reading a police report. But if you do use it, suddenly people say, wow, you speak like a native. Let's time travel for a second. Back in the 1700s, elocution was a serious deal in British high society. The upper class would take lessons to not blend their words so to pronounce things crisply and with gravitas. But among the common folk, connected speech ruled. People needed to talk quickly, to barter, to joke, to gossip. Historians still debate whether connected speech originated out of laziness or necessity. Probably both. Either way, it's now the heartbeat of native English. So how do you train this invisible power? Step 1. Start noticing it. Open your ears. Next time you hear a native speaker, especially in movies, interviews, or daily vlogs, listen for the links. Listen for what's missing. Do they drop the T? Do they connect a word ending in a consonant to the next word's vowel? Are two words becoming one? Here's a quick list of what to look for. Linking. Consonant A vowel turn off becomes turn off. Glottal stops. Dropped T bottle becomes bottle in some accents. Intrusion. Adding a sound between words. I saw it becomes I saw it. Assimilation. One sound changes to match a nearby sound. Good boy becomes good boy. And then there's gonna and wanna, the ultimate champions. You must get comfortable using these, not because they're cool slang but because they're normal. Nobody says going to unless they're reading a speech. Try repeating this little tongue twister of connected speech. I'm gonna wanna get out of here. You could slow that down and say, I am going to want to get out of here. But why would you? It takes forever. Here's your quirky moment. Some linguists argue that connected speech might be the reason English is harder to understand than other languages, and not because of vocabulary or grammar, but because the words literally disappear in fast speech. Your ears think they're being tricked. Spoiler alert, they are. So here's your practice. Pick one short sentence, something like what are you doing today? And say it 10 times, each time faster and more connected, until it becomes what ya doing day. You might feel like you're slurring. Good. Fluency isn't about sounding robotic. It's about feeling the glide between words. And one last thing, don't worry about losing clarity. You're not becoming incomprehensible. You're becoming natural. Your brain is finally stepping into native territory, where flow matters more than form. Trust it, lean into it, because connected speech isn't a trick, it's the engine that powers real English. Now that you're starting to squish and slide your words together like a native smoothie blender, we're going to unlock a layer even deeper, the part of English that doesn't live in the words at all. It lives in the voice, the tone, the melody. Welcome to the chaotic magic of intonation. This is the superpower that lets natives say fine and somehow mean I hate your guts, or really? And somehow mean you liar. It's how we express sarcasm, surprise, confusion, or even a full argument without changing a single word. Let's jump in. Imagine this, your friend says, "Oh, you're wearing that today?" It's just a question, right? Now try saying it in two different tones. One with genuine curiosity, "Oh, you're wearing that today?" Another with subtle judgment, "Oh, you're wearing that today?" Same words, wildly different vibe. That's intonation at work. English intonation is the musical roller coaster that rides under the words. It's what gives spoken language its flavor. Without it, everything sounds robotic, like a GPS trying to flirt. You already do this in your native language. Think of how you say okay. Say it flat, okay. Say it excited, okay. Say it annoyed, okay. A broken bar. Say it fake happy, okay. A broken bar. Four totally different meanings and not a single new word added. Here's your historical bit. The first studies of English intonation go all the way back to the 16th century, when teachers of rhetoric tried to categorize the musical patterns of great public speakers. Shakespeare's actors, for example, were trained to rise their pitch at key emotional moments. Historians still argue whether his audiences responded more to the words or the soundtrack behind the theme, but either way, the music of the language carried enormous weight. Now fast forward to you. You're learning phrases, that's good. But if you say them all in a flat tone, you might sound a broken bar, a little like a malfunctioning robot from a 1970s sci-fi movie. You need to emote. Take this phrase, I don't know. Say it with a rising tone at the end, I don't know. A confused, say it with a falling tone, I don't know. A firm, final, say it fast and low, I dunno. A casual, possibly hiding something. Now try, thanks. Flat equals neutral. Bright and rising equals happy. Low and slow equals sarcastic. Fast and sharp equals passive-aggressive nightmare. This is why native speakers can say the most basic phrases and still sound incredibly expressive. It's not what they say, it's how they say it. Let's add a quirky tidbit here. In one experiment, people were shown video clips of actors speaking gibberish and nonsense words with no meaning but with real English intonation. Viewers could still guess if the speaker was angry, sarcastic, happy, or bored with over 80% accuracy. That's the power of tone. You don't need real words to feel the meaning. So how do you practice this? First, stop trying to sound correct. Start trying to sound real. Copy emotion, not just sound. Watch a TV show. Listen to how someone says sure. Do they mean yes, or absolutely not but I'm too tired to fight? Second, exaggerate for practice. Overdo the ups and downs. Say I can't believe it like you just saw a UFO land in your backyard. Say that's nice like you're bored out of your mind. Yes, you'll feel silly. That's the point. You're building the muscle of emotional tone. Here's a fun trick. Record yourself saying a phrase 3 ways: happy, annoyed, confused. Then play them back. Do they actually sound different? If not, try again with more drama. Pretend you're on a soap opera. Pretend your coffee order was wrong again. Intonation is theater. Let your inner diva out. And last thing, intonation is culture specific. For example, Americans often use a rising tone at the end of statements to sound friendly or unsure. Brits may drop their tone for authority. Aussies, they turn everything into a question. Historians still debate whether Australian English's question lilt evolved from Irish immigrants or is just the national mood of gentle chaos. The point is, intonation tells people who you are, even before they understand your words. And if you want to blend in, you have to speak the melody of the tribe. So tonight, when you practice, don't just repeat words. Perform them. Let your voice dance. Let your emotion leak into every syllable. Because in English, how you say "I'd a broken bar" is what you're saying. So, by now, you're speaking more like a jazz musician than a grammar student, blurring words, writing rhythm, and lacing your tone with just enough drama to confuse and impress everyone around you. But there's still one thing tripping you up: grammar. You think you need more of it. Spoiler alert, you really don't. In fact, native speakers barely use grammar rules when they talk. We don't stop mid-sentence to think, ah yes, past perfect tense required here, carry the auxiliary, drop the bazzy broken bar number. We use patterns, chunks, phrases we've heard a million times and can blurt out without blinking. Think about it. When a native says, "I've been meaning to tell you a broken bar," they're not building that from scratch. They're grabbing a whole phrase block from memory. The same goes for, "It's kind of like a broken bar, let me get this straight." Here's the thing. These aren't grammar exercises. These are prefab parts like Lego blocks. We just snap them together in new ways. And you can do it, too. Here's a historical side note. In the 1800s, English instruction was all about memorizing grammar tables and parsing sentences like puzzles. It was mostly for writing, though. Speaking was seen as less important and less structured. Historians still argue whether that rigid approach actually helped anyone speak faster, or just turned everyone into walking punctuation marks. Modern research suggests what you probably already feel: Grammar slows you down. You think, hesitate, correct yourself, and by the time you speak, the moment's gone. Native speakers don't do that. They're on autopilot, using phrase patterns they've heard 10,000 times. Let's look at how this works. You want to say something about your plans tomorrow. Instead of building it from scratch with tense rules, just learn the whole block. I'm gonna a broken bar I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna hit the gym. I'm gonna regret everything. Or maybe you want to agree with someone. Native speakers rarely say, I agree with your opinion. Instead, we say, totally, exactly. Tell me about it. Agana blocks, not grammar. Vibes. Even questions follow patterns. Do you mind if a broken bar? How come you never a broken bar? What's the deal with a broken bar? These are not build your own sentences. They're templates. And once you master them, you'll talk faster. Much faster. Let's drop a quirky little fact here. Some of the most fluent non-native English speakers in the world, like airline pilots, global business leaders, or YouTubers, have less formal grammar knowledge than you might think. What they have is phrase memory. They've trained their ear to grab patterns and just roll with them. So how do you practice this? Step 1. Listen for chunks. When you watch a TV show or YouTube video, don't just focus on what they're saying, focus on how they're saying it. What phrases come up again and again? Write those down. Step 2. Practice those chunks aloud, and not like vocabulary lists, but like lines in a play. You're not memorizing for a test. You're training your mouth to default to them. You want to feel them slide out easily. Try this set, for example. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't want to. It's just a broken bar. Here's the thing, a broken bar. I was just about to a broken bar. Get good at those, and you'll suddenly find your speech speeding up. You won't have to stop and calculate verb forms. You'll just speak. Because grammar isn't the enemy, it's just not the driver. It's the framework under the surface. What you actually need is speed, confidence, and flexibility. And phrase patterns give you all three. And if you make a grammar mistake while speaking, guess what? So do natives. We say things like, me and her went to the store. I seen it yesterday. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's not wrong, it's how people talk. Even English teachers don't talk like textbooks on their day off. Here's a mindset shift for you. Instead of asking, is this correct grammar? Start asking, does this sound like something someone would actually say? That's a native mindset. That's fluency. So tonight, instead of doing grammar drills, go phrase hunting. Find 3 native expressions you like. Say them out loud 10 times. Say them with emotion. Say them with rhythm. Make them yours, because you're not a student anymore. You're an English speaker building fluency one pattern at a time. Okay, now we're tossing grammar overboard, or at least stuffing it into the glove compartment where it belongs, and you're loading up on phrases, rhythm, and tone. So what's next? Talk first, think later. That's right. We're rewiring your brain to speak before you're ready. Because here's a weird secret, native speakers aren't thinking that hard when they talk. Most of what comes out of their mouth is reflex, muscle memory, gut instinct, autopilot. And that's exactly how you need to start approaching English. Right now, you probably do this. Think in your native language. Translate the idea into English. Build a grammatically correct sentence. Say it. That's 4 steps. 4 slow, awkward steps. Meanwhile, a native speaker just blurts out, yeah, totally. I mean, a kinda weird, right? No thinking, no translating, just pure reflex. Here's your job. Skip the thinking. Talk first, let your brain catch up later. This isn't just advice, it's backed by how language actually develops. Babies don't wait until they've learned the rules. They babble, they mess up, they try stuff out, and then magically they get better. Because language grows from usage, not theory. Here's a historical nod. In medieval Europe, children were often raised with zero formal instruction in Latin, but were expected to use it in church, in writing, in debate. Guess how they learned? By mimicking the priests, absorbing the phrases, and winging it out loud until they got good. Historians still argue whether this immersion by fire produced fluent speakers or just skilled parrots. But either way, They didn't wait until they knew enough to start speaking. Neither should you. So let's get practical. Start talking to yourself. Yes, out loud. In English. Narrate your day. Complain about your breakfast. Talk to your shampoo bottle if you have to. The point is, speak without preparing. Open your mouth and let anything come out. If you get stuck, great. That's a sign your brain is looking for a shortcut. Give it one. Make up something close. Use a phrase you've heard. Say it badly, but say it. Here's a quirky finding. In language labs, people who spoke messy English with high volume and emotional energy were rated as more fluent than quieter, more careful speakers. Why? Because speed and flow feel like fluency, even if the grammar's off. Think about when you speak your own language. You hesitate, sure yeah, but do you panic every time you can't find the perfect word, number? You just keep talking. That's the trick. Start treating English the same way. Shrug. Move on. Say, you know, that thing, or what's it called? Or kinda like a broken bar. These are all native speaker tools for buying time while their brain searches for the next idea. Try this next time you want to say something complex in English. Instead of planning the full sentence, just jump in with, so basically a broken bar. It's kind of like a broken bar. You know how sometimes a broken bar. Let your mouth go first. Your brain will follow. Here's a little challenge. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Talk out loud in English. Doesn't matter what you say, just go. No pausing, no correcting, no planning. If you trip up, keep talking. Say blah 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 whatever and move on. This trains fluency like a workout trains muscles. You're teaching your brain to fill the silence. That's a native skill. And don't worry, native speakers also say dumb things all the time. They trail off mid-sentence. They start stories they don't finish. They say like 12 times in a row. Fluency isn't about being clever. It's about being comfortable. Also, let's bust the perfection myth. Most native English speakers don't know what a gerund is. Many can't define subjunctive mood. And if you asked the average American to explain the present perfect continuous, they'd probably change the subject. Fluency isn't knowledge, it's habit. So tonight, give yourself permission to ramble, to mumble, to say thing.